we have a special guest. He is none other than very popular leader of Queens.
Hiram Monserrate.
He is experienced leader too. He is former police officer, councilman and district leader also. He has a lot of experience working with the diverse cultural community. And he is so kind, humble leader too. He is also very close to Nepali community. Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here on your show and to speak to the community.
How are you, Hiram?
I'm doing good. It's a beautiful Saturday day. We're here in Jackson Heights, Queens. I think it's the center of the universe.
Universe, yes.
Yes, I'm really happy to be here and have a conversation on the things that impact our community.
You are running assemblyman
Yes.
for District 35.
Yes.
How is going your campaign so far?
The campaign is going fantastic. We have hundreds and hundreds of people who are supporting our campaign, hundreds of people who have donated to our campaign. Every day we meet more people. Recently we filed our signatures with the New York State Board of Elections. We filed with over 2,500 community residents, voters from our community. And I want to tell you what communities they are so that the people know what neighborhoods we're talking about. East Elmhurst, Corona, Elmhurst, Regal Park, and a little bit of Forest Hills. Yes.
As a residents of Queens, the Nepalese are very close-knit but small community. We know already. We are very concerned with the negative changes to our neighborhood. For example, dirty street, rat infested and commercial zone now reaching residential areas. Those that work late shifts are inferior to their travel journey. When and if you are elected, what is your plan to stop this degrading our?
Yeah, I'm really happy that you asked my question. And if we had to point at one thing, one of the major reasons I'm running is I don't like what I see in my community. I see crime, I see garbage, I see dirty streets, I see a lot of congestion, and I see a lack of overall response by the government for our community. We are a hardworking community. We're very diverse, like you know. Your community is one of the most beautiful communities we ever had in Queens. Diversity, music, food, culture, organizations. I have been to many events for your community. Many. And every time I see organizations, groups, I went to a temple last month in East Elmhurst. There's a temple that opened about 2 years ago, and I met the Lama there. And so every time I turn around, I see the Nepalese community in its beauty and its culture. And so your community has been a very important community because it has also uplifted our local community in Queens. The Nepalese community also brought a lot of energy and a lot of commerce and economic development. So you have been a community that has really given so much to us already. Sadly to say that our entire community is suffering for the lack of action by our representatives and the government in general, both city and state level. We have a lack of law enforcement, we have a lack of cleanliness, we have a lack of hospital beds, we have overcrowded schools, and we have an overall deterioration of quality of life. Our quality of life has gone down. And so I'm running to be a voice for our communities. Not for the billionaire developers, not for the super rich, but for the people who make Queens and New York City work. And so I'm happy to be here to talk about that. Obviously, we need more sanitation services. We need more police officers. And we need laws that protect the people. So many of the local small shop owners right here in Roosevelt Avenue or 37th Avenue, Junction Boulevard, 82nd Street, 74th Street, they complain about
Jackson Heights
people coming to steal merchandise from the store and no repercussions. It's a very big issue that we confront, and I look forward to working closely with you and the Nepalese community to help make our community better, because we live here and we want to make it better for all of us.
Right. We know you have already attended so many Nepali events also.
Yes.
You are very close to Nepalese community. Can you provide an example of the time when you successfully resolved to conflict or misunderstanding within a multicultural environment, especially involving individuals from the Nepalese community?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because recently, I don't want to go into details of the names, but recently there was an event, and I took an active role in being the peacekeeper between two different factions within one group. And what I said to them, and I would say to any other groups, I've had similar experiences with the Bangladeshi community. That's also a big community here too. That we have to work together. And sometimes we allow our personal feelings to take over the greater good. You know, we shouldn't do that. And the fact of the matter is, the Nepalese community is a small community, and if it's united, it will be strong and it will continue to
And
progress.
diverse also. A small community,
Oh,
but
yeah,
it's a
very
diverse
diverse
community.
and beautiful. We love the Nepalese communities for everything they do, but the one thing I will say is continue to work. You are raising your children here now, your grandchildren. Many of them are American citizens. They're learning English. They know English. They're going to be part of the fabric that makes New York and America. And it will make it better. So we look forward to working with the community and making sure that the community stays together. If they stay together, they're stronger.
Can you share your experience working with the diverse cultural
Communities.
in the Queens, particularly with the Nepali communities?
Let me explain to the viewers who don't know my background. I grew up in Queens, but I'm also Latino, right? So I'm Spanish speaking. My parents, my grandparents who came here spoke very little English. And so I also share the immigrant experience coming to a new place, not knowing the language or the system, and learning how to become part of the system and to make the system better, because the system is imperfect, right? So I understand that when you have emerging communities, immigrant communities, the importance that there is not only that that community works together, but they begin to communicate with other communities and with the leaders. And so what I would suggest to everyone is continue to strengthen your community, raising your children well, ensuring that they're getting educated and they learn as much as they can here, never forgetting who they are, because that's also important. I was born here, but my parents were not. And I never forget the culture that I have, and the language that I have, and our customs and our music, and I bring it into the current society. So, we talk about working with diverse communities. The Latino community is also very diverse, from many different countries, but we speak the same language. So, I would say that we need to continue to work on that and ensure that we have representatives from each group. Now, when I get elected, there will be someone from the Nepalese community as a liaison working with me to make sure that the needs of the community are met, and if there's any issues, that we'll always be able to have at least an elected official that they can contact and respond to their needs.
How do you stay informed about the specific need and challenges facing this community in Queens, particularly in Queens?
Well,
I know you're representing District
35.
35,
Yeah.
but as a whole.
Sure. And you should also know that though I don't live there now, I used to live in Jackson Heights.
Yeah.
So I lived in Jackson Heights for about 12, 14 years. And so I'm very familiar with this neighborhood. And so I go to the events. I work with a gentleman also named KC Nabaraj. He's also very involved with us. And we go to the events, and we're also not only going to events, but we're visiting the institutions, the cultural institutions and religious, to make sure that we know what's happening. Recently, someone came to me from your community and needed help because they didn't understand how New York City government worked. And we were able to help, write a letter, contact, assist them with applications, and we'll continue to do that. So the importance for the community is to understand that they will have someone who you already know. You know me, Hiram Monserrate. You'll be able to contact me, and we will give you the service that you need and that you deserve, because you're paying taxes, you're working here, and you're an important part of our communities. I want to say that publicly. The Nepalese community is Queens, and Queens is America.
Yes. Among the USA, most diverse city is Queens.
Yes. Most diverse county in the world.
In the world.
In the world. No, everyone is here. All the languages, culture.
Multicultural, multi-languages, multi-costume, like that.
And great restaurants. I went to the restaurant on Roosevelt Avenue, 76th Street, is it? Is it Gorka?
Many varieties available, food also.
Yes.
I have another question, Mr. Hiram. Education is a personal goal for many members of the Nepalese community. But we are not in the pathway to receiving information for assistance to enable us to teach our goals. How would you, as an elected official, assist us in attaining this first goal?
Well, let me tell you, incredibly important. When I went to college, I was a police officer. So I was a police officer at night, and in the morning I was a college student. And very difficult to do, but I did it because that was the need that I had at the time. But now we have many more resources available to support students. So one of the first things I want to do is I want to have scholarship afternoon, where we teach and educate the community about how they can access different grants and scholarship opportunities for the young people to go to college. And so I think that's incredibly important, and that's one of the things that I have as a top priority, helping educate people in all communities, but clearly we'll do one specifically for the Nepali community, how they can access support for college. Incredibly important that our young people go to high school, do well, but then go to college and prepare themselves as well as they can. We need the future doctors and lawyers and engineers of the Nepalese community to start preparing now. We need to prepare them now for the future.
I want to ask one question. How much confident you will be win this election?
That's a very good. I'm very confident that we're going to win. I'm a spiritual man myself. I believe in God, and I have a lot of faith that things will turn the correct way. I also believe, quite frankly, that out of the people running for this office, I'm the most qualified by far. I have experience in city and state government and working in the NYPD for 12 years. So I understand how the agencies work and the interplay between the city agencies and government and the state agencies and state government. I bring that all to task. I have already passed laws. Parking meters are free on Sundays for everyone because of the law that I introduced in 2005. It's the legislature. Yeah, that's my law. And so it's important to elect people who you know on day one will be able to go in there and do the work and advocate for us and not get lost in the system. We also need strong leaderships that do not allow themselves to be bought out by special interests. And then those special interests have influence that can hurt good development, responsible development for the communities like these that are in high needs. It's very important. And clearly, for everyone who's hearing, I ask for your vote on June 25th for the New York State Assembly. Thank you very much. 25.
25th.
Yeah, 25th. Yeah, 25.
Election day.
Election.
Okay. We are typically renters. How can you provide protection to both small homeowners and renters so that we are not priced out the community. We have helped to build.
Well, I'm really glad that you asked that question because right now, today, yesterday, the city announced an approval of a soccer stadium. And I know that there's a lot of soccer fans. I'm one of them. I love soccer, the sport, and I like to watch it. I used to play. But I really believe that our city, our state, and our public resources need to be put in investing into the needs of the community. There's no greater need right now than affordable housing. We are being priced out of our apartments. We are being priced out of the real estate market. And people who have lived in Queens 10, 20 years are looking around and it has become a place that no one can afford. The average working class person can't have a decent place. So what's the solution? The solution is a simple one. It's not complicated. It gets complicated because of people who put making a lot of money in front of the needs of the people. The city and the state of New York need to invest in public housing, affordable housing, either rental or some type of ownership, but they need to develop thousands and thousands of units. That's where our effort should be, creating housing so that the people who live here can continue to live here. Now, you have to have that housing also coupled with something else that's incredibly important, public transportation. So I would support the creation of an MTA that's not an authority, but in fact an agency, either of the city or the state, properly funded by both. And we should establish a trust fund that will dedicate specific public monies for the creation of more public transportation, including more subways.
Yes.
We need more subways. It should not be just a 7 train. Yeah. Population is increasing, and we're talking about building more affordable housing and more market rate also. You have to create it. We have a need, but we have to create more infrastructure. And I think that creating dedicated bus lanes is not enough. We need more subways.
Because population is increasing day by day, right?
It's increasing, and in the borough of Queens, we still have transit deserts.
Yeah.
You know, Queens is a big taxpayer to both the city and the state, but we're not getting enough back in services.
If you were elected to the assembly seat, what specific plan do you have particularly for the Nepalese community?
Well, look.
You already told us, but specific.
Yeah. Specifically, we need to have, I'm going to have a liaison in my office specifically for this community, which is growing and vibrant. But really, the platform that I'm putting forward is threefold, three basic, really four, but I'll start with the first two. One is we have to be safe. If you get on the 7 train, do you always feel safe?
No.
Right.
Now it's not.
We feel unsafe.
Always we have a fear.
Yes, we feel unsafe. Many of our women are being harassed on the train. They're being abused. We have to stop that. So we have to really turn the corner on the issue of safety and understand that though I believe in criminal justice reform and ensuring and restorative justice and civil rights, I also believe that we have to be safe. Because if we're not safe in our communities to go to the store or to get on a train, then where are we? Secondly, we touched upon the issue of housing. If we can't live here, what can we do? We're gonna put everyone in the shelter. We have to create affordable housing for all communities. Obviously, that would be something that benefits the Nepalese community. The third point is our overcrowded schools. In this part of Queens, we still, today, 2024, have overcrowded schools. So we haven't put enough effort into the creation of more classrooms. And finally, the issue of healthcare. Where are we? We have one major hospital in this area, Elmhurst Hospital, that's already overwhelmed. And we don't have enough hospital beds in Queens. So these are the 4 issues that I want to tackle immediately as your next state assembly member.
Yes. One another question is, what is the difference? Your candidacy for assemblyman for the district 35 than the other.
Well, I'm glad that you asked that question. Clearly, by far the most experienced, right? I've experienced in government, I've legislated, I've passed bills into laws. There's 12 laws right now on the books that I passed when I was in the legislature. I know how to pass budgets. I have voted on countless budgets that impacted billions of dollars, both for city and state residents. But I'm also a husband and a father
Also.
of a son. I have a 4.5-year-old son who goes to public schools here in Queens. And so when I see what's happening in our school, I'm concerned, not just as someone who's looking, but someone who feels it. Because my son is there, and someone else's daughter is there, and our children are there. And I think that when you have children or even grandchildren, some people,
feel it,
you
right?
feel it more because it impacts you directly. So I'm concerned about safety because I'm also concerned about my wife and my son.
Yes.
I'm concerned about the education system because it impacts my son. I'm concerned about the issue of lack of hospital beds in the borough of Queens because it affects my family. And I also understand that if it affects my family, it affects all our families. And so I encourage everyone to prepare themselves to make sure that they vote. This year we have elections in June 25th for the legislature, and then in November we have a general election where we're going to be deciding the president, the Congress
June
people.
25th is primary election,
Primary, local election.
Local election.
But in the local races, that's the most important race.
Yes.
The primary election. So I encourage everyone, June 25th, please come out and vote. And then in November, we'll have the big race. The final race, right? The local races by and large are decided, but then you have the presidential race, U.S. Senate, and Congress. And those are going to be very big races. So it's a very big political year. A lot of things will change, and January 1st, we get to start over and do it again. I look forward to working with you. I look forward to coming back to the station before Election Day and after we win.
Yes.
So I look forward to talking to you all again.
That means primary election is more important.
Incredibly important. June 25th.
Representing from the Democratic Party.
Yes, yes.
Mr. Hiram, I very impressed your last answer. You said, as a father, as a husband, I can feel those things. I pretty much impressed that answer.
Thank you.
Lastly, what would you say to your voter, especially in Nepali community, why they should vote for you?
Thank you. I would say that obviously voting for me, Hiram Monserrate, is a vote for someone who's experienced, who's prepared, but is also very connected to this community like no other representative is. And I will continue to have that relationship for many, many years. I look forward to one day supporting the next wave of generation of Nepalis who want to run for office. So it's very important that we build those connections and that relationship now for the next 20 and 30 years. I ask you to support you, Hiram Monserrate for the New York City Assembly, and I thank you for the opportunity.
All the best for your
Thank you.
your election, and will accept our invitation and coming over here. Thank you so much, Honorable Hiram Monserrate.
Thank you. And thank you.
Thank you so much.